Welcome to the KISC My Health Radio show series on Building Fortunes Radio. KISC My Health is brought to you by the universally recognized Cranberry King, Captain Cranman, Stephen Lukawski. Over the past 30 years, Stephen has worked with North American dietary supplement companies in the nutraceutical industry. His efforts and connections generate ingredient sales through innovative delivery systems and effective marketing and brand management strategies. Today on KISC My Health, Stephen is joined by guest host Peter Mingils. Make sure you check out previous KISC My Health episodes at www.buildingfortunesradio.com or KISCMyHealth.com. Along with our marketing partners, we are here to help our customers improve their health, build their businesses, and make the world a better place. At KISC My Health, we know how much your health and your business means to you and the people important to you. So spread the word, tell another friend, join our newsletter, and go make a difference in your world. Now, on to our show with your hosts, Captain Cranman and Peter Mingils. Take it away, Peter.
Hello, everyone. Peter Mingils here. You are listening to our KISC My Health radio show on the Building Fortunes Radio Network, as well as on KISCMyHealth.com. We are here today with Stephen Lukawski, and I'll share with you briefly. We're on a tight timeline relative to both Stephen and his special guest, so I'm going to go brief on my introduction. We started KISC My Health in August, if you will, of 2024, and that was as a result of the death of James Gormley. James Gormley was one of the speakers on there was no KISC My Health. He was on the Citizens for Health radio show with a gentleman previous who was James Turner or Jim Turner, who was an attorney over in Washington, D.C. So we did about a decade's worth of radio shows every Friday with Jim Turner before his passing. And then James Gormley took over, and we did about 8 months' worth of radio shows with James, and then all of a sudden James passed away. Well, before James passed away, we did a radio show with a gentleman who many of you know as Captain Cranman, the King of Cranberries. Comes from Planet Cranberry himself. His name is Stephen Lukawski. And we did a really great radio show. I learned a lot about Stephen, joined his LinkedIn, and as a result of that, I had a relationship, if you will, on the social media kind of relationships with Stephen. So when James Gormley passed away, we both said, we got to do something. And that was going to be run a memorial for James Gormley, of course. But I started saying something about our KISC book that we were writing. KISC stands for the Keep It Simple Circle. And Stephen jumped on top of that, and he says, you know what? We should do a KISC My Health radio show series, not just for James Gormley, but for everyone else that I know in the industry that he is in, and he's been there for decades. As a result of that, we started the KISCMyHealth.com domain name and the KISC My Health radio shows, where we interview some really amazing people, including today's guest. I just want to say in my brief, if you will, introduction, thanks to our corporate sponsors, thanks to our passive and our active listeners, and certainly thanks to Stephen Lukawski, for whom this would never happen, because it's his relationships with the people that he brings on, and we have great conversations. Lots of people listen in, and share this with your friends as well. So without further delay, Stephen Lukawski, thanks for all the work you do, and thanks for being here on your own radio show on KISC My Health.
Thank you, Peter. And thank you, everyone out there, for taking the time today to listen to KISC My Health Radio, where today we are going to have another amazing interview with a super legend, a legacy leader in the natural product industry. And before I make that introduction, I want to thank our sponsors that have helped us right from the beginning. Whole Foods Magazine, all right, Heather Weiner, the Charlie's Angels over there, that each week promote the leaders that we bring on to interview, and as they share their career journey and success story with us. Pure Organics, the stevia leaders out there in the industry for the sweeteners, and then we have Joe Bradley and the Step Change Innovation team that's been with us, and we thank Joe, the pioneer of probiotics way back when it was nobody knew how to spell the word. So, and here he is today with a great company and Step Change. We thank them for their support. And remember, this is a not-for-profit radio program, so it's not about monetizing anything here. This is about not products, it's not about companies, it's about people. These are leaders, transformational legacy leaders that make a difference in this natural product industry. They're top guns. They have gone the extra mile, but what makes them so special, in my opinion, is how they differentiate themselves with a servant leadership style, always doing the most to put others' people's needs ahead of their own, to be a role model and a mentor, to help others, younger people, move forward in this industry and to follow their footsteps while creating their own. These leaders are all about giving back time. They are there to make a difference in the health and wellness of the consumer, but more importantly, they are there to help guide the listeners to understanding behind the scenes in the natural product industry, their story, what they had to go through. So everybody understands that through hard work, commitment, drive, passion, is that what makes a difference, not just in the natural product industry, but anything in life you can accomplish if you believe in yourself. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Scott Forsberg to KISC My Health Radio. Welcome, Scott.
Thanks, Stephen. Really good to be here.
I'm so happy you found that. You're here. You're, be honest with you, you're a role model of mine because I'm, as in the cranberry space. I know you've been there. You've paved the way for my success story in the cranberry industry. A lot of people don't know what you've done, and this is why I think it's so important for me to give you the spotlight on stage to share with the industry, all the good things that you've contributed for my, not just for myself, but for other people that have been able to walk the path.
So much. It's completely different now than what it was when you and I started. So it's really gratifying to see how much success has come out of those early efforts.
Yeah, well, before I even introduce you to the rest of the world who are listening, we're going to break for a commercial with PYURE, Pure Brand Ingredients, the organic sweetener company. Take it away, Peter.
Here we go.
KISC My Health Radio welcomes our corporate sponsor, Pure Organic. What if reducing sugar didn't mean giving up the foods and drinks you love? That's the philosophy behind Pure, spelled P-Y-U-R-E, at pureorganic.com. Pure believes that if healthier food doesn't taste great, people simply won't stick with it. So they've created a full line of plant-based, organic, and organically sweetened sugar alternatives designed to deliver the sweetness you love without the sugar overload. From granulated sweeteners and liquid syrups to their powerful single-ingredient stevia extract, Pure makes it easy to sweeten your coffee, upgrade your recipes, and enjoy better choices without sacrificing flavor. And Pure is not just helping consumers at home. They also work behind the scenes with food, beverage, and supplement companies nationwide, helping brands reduce sugar while maintaining the taste, texture, and experience customers expect. With decades of expertise in food science and formulation, Pure is helping reshape the future of sweetness. Want to learn more about Pure? See their full line of products, discover their story, and explore what makes them different at pureorganic.com. That's P-Y-U-R-E organic.com. Visit pureorganic.com today and taste the future of sweetening. At KISC My Health Radio, we want to thank Pure for being our corporate sponsor. Now back to our show. Take it away, Peter.
Perfect. Well, Stephen, take it away. I know we're on a short time frame for those people who might be listening in. I'll excuse both of these gentlemen towards the end. I'll wrap up the radio show. So, Stephen, take it away.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Peter. And welcome back to our listeners. Scott Forsberg is going to be interviewed today as the next legacy leader in the natural product industry. And, Scott, thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Right, so there's a lot of people out there that don't know who you are, Scott. So if I may, I'll just do a little brief introduction to our listeners. So Scott's a microbiologist with over 3 decades of consumer product innovation experience in health and wellness. Early in his career, he was head of R&D and VP of marketing for the Nutraceutical Corporation. and later Nature's Way. In the early 1990s, Scott worked closely with the industry group that successfully lobbied for the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act of DSHEA of 1994. During that pivotal time, he also served on the board of directors of the American Herbal Products Association, where he handled the government regulations. Scott's latest venture is WellVine, where he serves as Chief Operating Officer. WellVine is a real food prebiotic derived from upcycling of Chardonnay wine grapes, and also the key ingredient in Vine to Bar, the first mainstream prebiotic dark chocolate with meaningful levels of fiber and polyphenols for gut and heart health. As an avid outdoorsman and scientist, he believes that combining the best of nature and science is the key to a healthy and sustainable future. What an exciting career. Now, how many years altogether, Scott, from day one in the natural product industry to today?
So I started working, my first job in the industry was with Solidified, which was the first company in the Nutraceutical Corporation roll-up, the first one they acquired. So I was at Solidified in 1988. So it's been 38 years. Yeah.
So 1988. Now, do you remember the first cranberry product that you put it on the shelf back then?
It was called Cranactin, actually.
I know. It's still around.
It is. Yep, you're right. That was our number one selling product at Solidified after we launched it. It didn't take very long before it climbed to the number one spot in our entire lineup, actually.
And to all those people who are buying Cranactin today, all right, it's a great product. All right, continue to buy it. All right, because Scott was the mastermind pretty much behind that product. And I tell the people a little bit about Cranactin at that time period, so people know the importance of your role in the cranberry world.
So the owner and founder of Solidified, Jim Beck, it was really his idea to start looking into cranberry. Jim had done a lot of investigation into traditional remedies, and cranberry was a known traditional remedy for urinary tract infections. But we didn't know why. We didn't know why it did that or how it was that cranberry was able to do this. So I got together with one of the professors who had taught me in school, Ed Walker at Weaver State University. There were a couple of other students who were also there when I was there, Rich Mickelson and his wife, Jen Mickelson. And it was the four of us who came up with some ideas about what we could do to figure this out. And we were the first ones to kind of hone in on a way of looking at cranberry that would determine anti-adherence activity, which we now know is what's going on with cranberry and urinary tract infections. So, cranberry actually prevents E. coli bacteria from sticking to the cells of the bladder so they can't infect. So what we did is we fractionated the cranberry, ran it through the assay until we figured out what the active principles in cranberry were, and that's where all the science on packs and such came from, was that early anti-adherence work and the fractionation that we did.
Yes, and let's for our listeners' benefit, it was really from the cranberry juice concentrate, right? Where that ingredient.
It was a cranberry juice concentrate. Yep, that's what we were using at that point. It wasn't an extract. It wasn't whole cranberry. It was a juice and a powdered concentrate that we were using to do the work.
Yeah. And Scott, you were way ahead of the curve, way ahead of it. Like you were a visionary and a pioneer, right, in that cranberry world. And I have to congratulate you on the research work that you have done. Someone had told me that really you are the king of cranberries, not me. All right, because right, because you have how many patents on cranberry way back then at that time?
So that team we developed. We ended up with 44 patents worldwide on cranberry. Yeah.
And along came at that point in time. Okay, so just imagine this. This was cranberry concentrate dried into a powder, and then put into a capsule and called Cranactin on the shelf. And it became a top seller for Solidified. and
Yep.
to this day, it's still so. What I'm sharing with people that if that product works for you, continue to purchase that. Okay, all right. But what the world has seen from Scott's research is that cranberry is, in the upcycling world, the whole fruit powder has its benefits, and not just with cranberry, right, but also with other berries. And so we're going to get into the story of WellVine and and the Chardonnay, all right, upcycling Chardonnay in a moment here. But just to let people know that Scott on center stage has really opened the doors of cranberry for me and others to be able to succeed, all right, and to be able to go out there and make a living and change the world to help people live longer and healthier in the prevention and support of UTI. All right, so the FDA now has given a qualified health claim to cranberry, and 500 milligrams daily, and has recognized the benefits of cranberry concentrate in a juice cocktail form, right, and also in a capsule form. So congratulations, Scott, because your work has opened up the doors for the government to come in now, and I wanted to personally say thank you for that. Okay. Because,
that's very kind of you. Yeah, there were a lot of people involved in this over the years, you as well, people that helped to make it known and to really establish the industry, the early work. Really, it was, Ed Walker and Rich and Jen that did most of the analytical work there. But, yeah, it's very kind and it's very gratifying, too, to see it help so many people.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know I ventured into the upcycled world, and this is why I'm a fan of Scott's, because Scott is being able to take the upcycled world of grapes and the material and focus on a particular variety and be able to turn that into value added. But, from the days of CranMax, when I first got into this business, the upcycling of cranberry that was thrown out to the chickens and pigs and cows, we recaptured that. We turned it into whole fruit powder. And then the days of then moving on with Fruit Dior and helping them, all right, build the brand Crandor and Cran Naturel in the organic space. And so today, I just think cranberries and even the world of berries are still in their first inning of the story of the benefits of polyphenols. And I'd like to slide into that conversation of the benefits of grape powder. So let's talk a little bit about what you're doing now as the next generation berry with respect to Chardonnay.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we're starting to have a much better appreciation for now is how the natural food matrix of, whether it's berries or other fruits and vegetables, how important that is to activity. These vegetables and fruits that we eat, they're, humans have co-evolved with our food supply, and our food supply has, changed in response to that as well. But we've co-evolved to be able to get maximum nutrition out of these particular really interesting little delivery forms, basically. If you think about it, a berry is nature's way of delivering the exact correct ratio that you need in order to be healthy of not only polyphenols, but also fiber and, of course, fat and protein, vitamins, minerals. So it's a whole package, and I think we have to be careful not to reduce the activity or the value of these down to just one component, which I call that pharmaceutical envy, this natural tendency to want to look at a natural product and say, oh, it does what it does because it has this in it, like resveratrol. People, whenever you tell them that you're working on grape, they say, oh, are you making a resveratrol product? And in fact, we're not, because resveratrol is just one ingredient, number one. Number two, the science on resveratrol really hasn't, panned out the way people thought it would. But there's a lot more going on in all of these foods. They're very complex, and you have to capture all of that natural goodness that comes from the whole material in the best way possible. So that's what we're doing with Chardonnay grapes. We do a whole grape product that is made from the pumice that you get from wine processing and wine pressing, and we've done a lot of research on it over the last 15 years, actually.
And now you have a patent, I believe, with this WellVine pumice. Right,
we have a couple of different patents. Yep, we have. We actually have patents on using the material to help with various aspects of metabolic health. So this would be things like improving the health of the endothelium in blood vessels. That's the lining of the blood vessel that not only allows blood vessels to be flexible and improves, your blood flow, but also that endothelium is where all the nitric oxide is produced that allows your blood vessels to dilate and improve blood flow that way. So we have patents on endothelial health. We have patents on actually triglycerides and cholesterol, patents on improving or maintaining the health of the liver, fatty liver. And then we have new patents. Interestingly, we found this out when we were working on our chocolate product that now has WellVine in it. We have a patent on improving the taste of dark chocolate. So it turns out that the things in Chardonnay which make it really tasty as wine also help to improve the taste of chocolate and get rid of some of that bitter note by replacing it with a bright fruity note that you get from the fresh grape.
Okay. So can you explain to our listeners, if they had a glass of Chardonnay in one hand, all right, and let's say the WellVine chocolate in the other, all right, what the difference is between the two in terms of health benefits?
Yeah, we like to call it completing the grape, right? So you're taking the juice out and making wine out of it, and then everything else that's left goes into the chocolate. So when you eat the chocolate and you drink a glass of wine, you complete the grape. What comes out in the juice when they make wine, obviously the sugar comes out in it. You also get some of those polyphenols and antioxidants and some of the other components that are soluble in the juice. But what you don't get is fat, protein, and most importantly, you don't get carbohydrates. So you're not getting the fiber. You get a carbohydrate in the form of sugar, but you're not getting fiber that would be found in the grape. And a lot of our work has been done on the fiber part of the Chardonnay grape and how important that is actually in the activity. One of the things that we're starting to understand, not just about berries, but about most foods and most phytopharmaceuticals or phytochemicals, is that there's a great deal of their activity that actually starts in the gut. It can be in the form of the gut bacteria actually changing those chemicals into something else. So the natural phytochemicals that you find in there, that may not actually be what ends up in your bloodstream. What might be there is something that's been changed or metabolized by the microbes in your gut. And that happens in addition to the digestion of those oligosaccharides, they call them, which are a kind of fiber that's particularly well suited to feed bacteria in the gut. So you've got all this complex digestion of nutrients that's going on there. You've got transformation of certain phytochemicals and other beneficial nutrients into other nutrients that end up in the bloodstream. And that complexity and all of that kind of naturally co-evolved health benefit, it doesn't happen unless you present the natural food matrix. And that's what we have in the pumice and in the grape that you probably don't have in the wine. Wine has other benefits and other things that are attached to it. But that microbiome-mediated activity, that happens much better when you have all of the fiber and everything else that's found in the grape itself.
So Scott, knowing what you know now with the grape pumice and the whole fruit spectrum, would that change your thinking of when you first started working at Solidified, Nature's Way, in terms of the juice spray dried powder?
Absolutely. Yeah, the microbiome and microbiome-mediated, kind of activity and transformation products wasn't on anybody's radar back then. So we didn't even really consider it. And we used more of that kind of single, bioactive component approach to this. But the truth is that the interplay of everything that's found in the whole product has a lot of benefits that you're not going to get by just doing an isolated single, ingredient product or an extract or something like that. So my personal opinion and what the science is starting to tell us is that anytime you can get closer to what you find in nature and the whole product, you're going to be better off than if you alter it and refine it.
I agree with you on this because and look at the good what we're doing. We're capturing the bywaste that has been thrown out to landfill or to animal feed, and we're turning it into value added for longevity and health and well-being. I just think that's so exciting. So I think our industry sometimes gets stuck pigeonholed that we have to isolate biomarkers out of a particular ingredient. Like we'll just talk about berries here in general. Right, when there's so much other goodness that we're missing out on. Like you just said, the fiber plays an important role with WellVine.
It does. And the more we learn about that, the more, too, it appears that fiber acts as a natural delivery system. So the polyphenols bind to the fiber, and that makes it easier for it to transit all the way down to the colon where it can be the most active. So you hear a lot about bioavailability, and companies will coat things or they'll encapsulate it or whatever to make it delivered to the right part of the digestive system. That happens naturally with a combination of fiber and polyphenols from the whole fruit or the whole berry.
Scott, I'm so excited hearing this. Like, that's been my whole thesis on stop chasing the packs in cranberry, all right? At the end of the day, it's the whole fruit, right? It's not the PACS that makes urinary tract health, supporting healthy urinary tract. It's the whole cranberry because you need the fibers to act as a transporting agent, to shield and protect from the gastro tract, the acids in the stomach, to deliver the biomarkers. And that's what you're experiencing with the grape pumice here. Is that correct?
That's right. And it also feeds the microbiome and helps to maintain a positive balance of organisms, which is also part of this whole story about, urinary tract infections. One of the reasons why people experience urinary tract infections is because they have an imbalance in their gut, which allows those bacteria that are undesirable or that might lead to infection to flourish and to migrate. So if you keep a really healthy and strong gut microbiome, you're much less likely to have those infections or to have the bacteria present in the bladder where it shouldn't be.
Yeah. So you've heard it from the king himself, all right, Scott Forsberg, all right, the importance of the new research that's happening today as we speak about the importance of the whole berry, not components of it, all right? So, at the end, I think, if we don't deliver the whole fruit, I think we are missing out on helping the consumer, right? Because at the end of the day, if they don't absorb those polyphenols, what good is taking, those ingredients if they don't have the fiber to go with it to transport it through the stomach, right? So I truly believe that, moving forward, you're creating a super great Chardonnay, not just a Chardonnay material, but a super great Chardonnay. Is that correct?
That's right. So the Chardonnay that we use, number one, it's the world's highest quality Chardonnay. It comes from coastal and mountain vineyards in the western United States. And the reason why it's better is because when you grow it in those regions, so a little bit cooler regions, the grape will actually produce more of the beneficial compounds that you're looking for than if you grow it in a low-lying, very warm, very easy-to-grow area. And this is something that happens with plants in general. For example, most people are familiar with lycopene, that it comes from tomatoes. The way that they get really high amounts of lycopene in tomatoes is they grow them out in the desert, and they actually add a little bit of salt to the water that those tomatoes are grown with, so they have to struggle. Because struggle and having to overcome environmental challenges makes plants produce more of the defensive compounds that are associated with good health for us. So things like lycopene protect the plant from solar radiation. And in the case of grapes, if you have a little bit cooler temperatures at night, which allow the plant to recover, and which also require that it produce more of these defensive compounds, you end up with a higher quality grape that has more color, more flavor, and more of the compounds that are associated with good health. So that's where it starts, is with a superior grape and a superior place to do it. But the second reason why we started to focus in on Chardonnay is, and this work was done, 12, 15 years ago, it was actually performed by the USDA. This is published work out there. We looked at 8 different varieties of grape. And the idea was to figure out, which of these varieties would have the best effect on some of those metabolic health parameters that I talked about earlier, like blood pressure, blood lipids, blood sugar. And to everyone's surprise, both the USDA and to ourselves, the grape that consistently performed the best was Chardonnay. Better than Cabernet, better than Merlot, Zinfandel, Pinot Noir. Any of the red grapes did not have as good an effect as Chardonnay did. And that was a surprise. And everyone, started to ask why, because this was still at the heyday of the French paradox and resveratrol and everything else. So we embarked on a research program to figure that out. And a couple of things came to light. One is that the kind of polyphenols in white grapes are actually very similar to what you find in green tea or in cocoa. They're called flavanols or monomers. They're simpler compounds. They may not have the same color to them, but they're highly bioactive and very beneficial for people. Secondly, when you make white wine, you actually press the grapes before any fermentation takes place. So we get our material to make WellVine from within 12 to 18 hours of harvesting. Actually, it goes into the freezer. So it's basically fresh fruit. With red wine, though, you take those grapes and you ferment them for a while. It's called maceration. So you could macerate for a few days, up to a couple of weeks, and you already have some of these products that are found in the natural fruit, some of the phytochemicals, being altered by the bacteria or the yeast that are used to ferment the grape. So it's a very different profile than the fresh grape itself. So when you compare white pumice with red pumice, white pumice is fresh fruit, very close to what you find in nature. Red pumice, though, has been altered through this process of maceration. And so it's actually quite a bit different than what you find in fresh red grapes. Those two differences are what account for the fact that Chardonnay actually is a superior grape when it comes to metabolic health in people.
And it has the carbon and nitrogen source to actually provide a food source for certain probiotic strains?
So we did work at UC Davis looking at what kind of bacteria in the gut WellVine would support. So you basically take the carbohydrates that are in WellVine and you add them to the culture that you're growing of different probiotic bacteria. And what we found was that WellVine actually supports the growth of all of the probiotic bacteria that we tested. And the reason for that is because it's a very complex source of fiber. So if you look at most prebiotics, the difference between a probiotic and a prebiotic is a probiotic is live bacteria, and a prebiotic is what those bacteria eat. It's like if you were to think about it as a garden, the probiotic would be the seeds that you would plant in the garden, and the prebiotic would be the fertilizer that you would put on those seeds, right? So this prebiotic effect that you get from most prebiotics that are out there, like inulin or FOS, fructooligosaccharides, or GOS, galacto-oligosaccharides, it's very specific. It's largely going to feed bifidobacteria, although they do feed some other bacteria. But it's a very simple single oligosaccharide ingredient. And so it favors certain bacteria, and that's it. And it doesn't have very good feeding among a lot of the other bacteria that are found in your gut. But our material has many, many different oligosaccharides in it. In fact, it has more building blocks to build those oligosaccharides from than any other material that's ever been tested in the lab there at UC Davis. So if you compare the number of building blocks that we have with, say, inulin only has 2 building blocks. We have 11. Even human mother's milk only has 7 building blocks compared with the 11 that we have in Chardonnay. So it's one of the most diverse fiber sources there is, and that means it feeds all of the bacteria, the good bacteria in your gut. We were a little worried that, because it does feed so many different things, that it might also feed bacteria that are undesirable. So we tested those too, and what we found out is they can't utilize that carbohydrate, that mixture that's found in Chardonnay. It doesn't support the growth of those bacteria. That's partly a product of evolution, but it's also partly a product of what we talked about before, which is it's bound to these polyphenols, and those inhibit the growth of those bad bacteria. So there's a synergy between polyphenols and fiber when it comes to making it more selective in its promotion of the growth of good bacteria without promoting the growth of the bad bacteria.
So anybody in the probiotic industry who are manufacturing probiotics or looking to formulate probiotics, absolutely you need to talk to Scott regarding the Chardonnay powder, WellVine, all right, so you can understand the benefits of the symbiotic relationship between the two ingredients. And because I'm certain that not all probiotic strains are the same, right? And not all grape powder is the same. So we're talking here about Chardonnay, right? We're talking about patents. We're talking about research and science. So, in addition to the cranberry that's being promoted out there with probiotics, I think, the grape powder definitely needs to be moving into that area along with other fruit powders. All right, and Scott, thank you for opening up the doors for the grape, for the Chardonnay buy waste, because I'd rather see it what you're doing, and thank you to the family behind the scenes, all right, for investing in you and your team to be able to come up with something that the good Lord has given us, and we are right under our nose, and we're not doing anything with it until you come along. That is a beautiful thing.
Well, thanks. Our company was started by 2 women, actually, who are visionaries in the wine industry, Peggy Firth, who was the proprietor of Chalk Hill, and Barbara Banke, who is the chairwoman of Jackson Family Wines. And they're the ones who looked at all of this fruit, this beautiful fruit that goes into the wine press. You take the juice and the sugar and such, and you make that into wine, and then the rest of it, like you said, it might go to animal feed, it might be composted, it might be, in some cases, might be thrown out. And they knew that there was going to be a higher, better use for this, right? So it was their vision that started the company and started us down this path. They put the company together and really, were the ones that had that idea. I just came along and helped them to figure out how to make that higher, better use and how to determine what it could be. So we applied, some science to it and some disciplined research to get to where we are today. But it started with their vision.
Well, thank you to them. All right, it's like visionaries, pioneers. We need them. All right, it's a tough field to plow as a pioneer, and because sometimes you don't see the dividends of what you're planting until years go by, and so and I'm so glad that they found you and that you're able that they're to a level of reality in terms of the upcycling of Chardonnay. And but that also explains gives hope to the listeners out there that if you have a dream, if you have a goal, all right, and it's all about connecting with the right people, all right, and to help them, all right, because we all have skills and blessed in different ways, all right, and Scott, I know that it took a team effort to be where you are today. So, if you want to, give a special shout out to other people, this is your time to do that. But, I just, has there been a mentor in your life as you've been moving along your pathway here that you like to talk about?
There's, like most people I'm sure out there, there's a few people at different points in my life that were, really instrumental. I had a teacher when I was younger that really helped me kind of figure out how I wanted to think about both education and about the things that I wanted in life. And so, early on, that was a person that really helped me a lot. There was also people that I've met in my career. Jim Beck is the one that I mentioned earlier, the founder of SolarRay. He got me into the industry. And, Jim had a very interesting take on not just business, but on, kind of what your responsibility is if you're in business, right? I think one of the things that's disturbing to me about our current culture is that everyone seems to be so focused on just making money and in growing the size of their business. I hear over and over again CEOs and other people say that their responsibility is just to provide shareholder value and to return money to their investors. I don't agree with that. I think you have responsibility to those people, but I think you have an equal or even greater responsibility to society in general, to the consumers that buy your products, and frankly to your employees. And I think we've lost some of that ethic. I think that that's something that, people don't really think about as often as they should, and that we need to, because when you do that, not only do you create something that's better for society, but in my opinion, you create a company that lasts, a company that has a legacy to it and isn't here today, gone tomorrow, when, simply the appetite or the competitive landscape changes and people find something that's shinier, right? Something else to go after. Yeah. So I had a few people in my career that helped me understand that as well.
So how many years is it, are we looking at? We're talking about 3 decades, right? And
38 years
of experience. 38 years, and your best years are still ahead of you. And I love how your mind works, and you're absolutely right. I think the companies out there look at the dollar sign, not the value of the person. And not all companies think that way, but the companies that are in for $1, all right, at the end of the day, you are absolutely right. And we've seen the transition of companies, public companies buying other companies, and then you don't see that transition going through smoothly, do you? All right. So we've lost. I think, and I don't know. To me, I'm from old school. A handshake's a handshake. I look at your word is your word, right? And if you help somebody make money, you should be going along for that ride and educate the consumer on the value and the science behind it, not just on making money for the other person. This is where I think it's getting lost, is that the consumer sometimes doesn't see the best products on the shelf for them because the price point, it's too expensive for through the retail model, right, to get to the consumer. And, and it's sad because, at the end of the day, I've been preaching full spectrum berries right from the beginning on the upcycling world, because I think that's a tremendous value chain opportunity. But again, it's our co-manufacturers out there that are valuable, because they're the ones that handle the pumice, they're the ones that dry and they mill, right? And they're the ones that create the powder or the ingredient, the science-based ingredient, and sometimes they don't get recognized, and they should get recognized. So, Scott, I'm just sharing this with you because I truly believe, all right, what you are doing is going to open up doors for the whole polyphenol industry, right? And of the fruit ingredients, and the upcycling world, because I think there's why waste everything out to the fields if we can capture it and turn it into value added? Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's tremendous value in a lot of things that we formerly discarded or didn't understand the value of. And I think people are starting to wake up to that. I think they're starting to realize that all of that value and potential has been sitting there this whole time, and for whatever reason we've ignored it. And I would be thrilled to think that we were at the forefront of that. I'll tell you, there are a couple of things though that have to happen in order for that to work. One of those is you can't expect people to buy a product just because it's upcycled or just because it's more sustainable. It has to be equal in quality or better than in quality than the product that they're used to taking or the other products that they have. So you can't expect consumers to compromise. You can't expect them to hold their nose and say, well, this doesn't taste as good, or it doesn't give me the same experience that I'm used to having with these other products, but I'll do it anyway because it's good for the planet and I think it's good for my health. That was the mistake that was made back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Remember when they had all of the low-fat and no-fat products? And they were terrible, right? They didn't taste good. The experience was completely different than what people were used to, and of course those products disappeared. But our chocolate product, Vine to Bar is what we call it. It has WellVine in it. 15% by weight of the chocolate formula is actually made from WellVine. And that product has about twice as much fiber as other chocolates you're going to find on the market, way more polyphenols. It's a much healthier product. But I defy you to actually, take our product, take another chocolate, and say that you can tell that it's made from an upcycled product. Other than it has a really interesting, bright fruity flavor that comes from the grape, which is actually a good thing. People really love it. We have better than 95% 5-star reviews for our product. So people love the product. It provides them with an experience that's as good or better in many cases than other chocolates is. And that's why we're seeing success there. If it wasn't as good a product, if it didn't taste as good, if it wasn't as indulgent as a regular chocolate, it wouldn't succeed despite the fact that it's upcycled and despite the fact that it's healthy. That is not enough in today's marketplace.
Yeah. Now, how do you defend against adulteration? When somebody wants to know that your product is 100% pure, because it is, how price sensitive the market is out there. The better for you market, for some ingredients that do not exist because people just don't have that price, that money in their pocket. How do you debunk the junk of other people who are going to follow your footsteps on Chardonnay powder? How do you separate yourself from them?
Well, so far, luckily, we haven't had to do that because we are really the first in the category. I'm sure eventually that this will become something of an issue, right? Right now, it's not an issue for us because we're the only game in town. There really aren't any competitors to what we're doing. We also have a huge supply advantage because we happen to be a sister company to the largest producer of Chardonnay in North America, so that helps a lot. But eventually, what we'll have to do is what a lot of companies have had to do, which is use fingerprinting. So, a way of analyzing the material that has a unique and distinguished fingerprint that you can use to identify whether or not it's been adulterated. And usually that's a method that takes into account lots of different parameters. So it's not just one bioactive that you're measuring. You're measuring a lot of different things in the product together. That fingerprinting has been done for a number of different products in the industry. I think you're doing it in cranberry, right?
Yeah, myself in the super cranberry that I'm developing, we are definitely doing the NMR analysis all right, nuclear magnetic resonance for full spectrum. So your Purity IQ, any lab that has, we're working with that. There's no 100% best analytical tool, but if I set the bar high enough, it'll the bad actors jump higher to get over that. So, but yeah, again, my goal is to give the best price, the best quality, and consistently, and fight the battle of adulteration, and in the industry, because at the end of the day, that's my passion, that's my commitment, and I just love your passion and commitment to what you're doing, and I can see grape, the Chardonnay grape with cranberry in a product down the road. I can certainly see that combination, in the dietary supplement space, as a
yeah, I can too. I think that'd be terrific.
Well, let's do it, Scott. All right, let's make it happen. All right, out there. And, so I'm all for this. But more importantly, I just want to say congratulations. I'm a better person for knowing you. You're a wonderful human being, and you are a mentor of mine. And many out there. I was just talking to Bernie Landis, and he said to say hello to you. And it's just there's a lot of people that are fans of yours out there. And you've been so
that's
humble.
Really nice to hear, Stephen. And I really appreciate what you're doing and getting the word out and getting the message out, and in preserving the history and the legacy of the industry, because I think the early industry had a lot of values that for a while there, maybe weren't at the forefront, but it's starting to come back now, and people are starting to go back to the roots of where the industry began with some of these things.
Well, I would love to see a Scott Forsberg, trophy for Supplier of the Year in the world of cranberry, right? And it's with the value system that you have, and the and basically you've been a role model for so many entrepreneurs, so many researchers and formulators out there in the industry, and and Nature's Way and Solar Ray, they've been so blessed to have you come through the system there and to take their products to a higher level of success. And it's just been a great ride for you, and I'm so excited to watch because your best years are still ahead of you, Scott. So this is exciting.
It is. I'm really excited. It's a nice place to be.
Now, I just want to share with you that I know that we're on a tight line, and I really wanted to do a deep dive into your where you were born and your family and your education and your leadership qualities and mentorship and and your ups and downs and the advice and guidance you want to give the younger generations. So can I invite you back for another show so we can cover that part of your life journey?
Yeah, happy to do it. That would be a fun conversation.
I would love that. And for those who are listening to this radio show today, all right, what website can the listeners go to learn about WellVine?
Yeah, so it's very easy. It's just wellvine.com, which is WELLV as in Victor, INE.com, and you can go there and see our story. You can learn about our founders. We have all of the links to the published research, which I think we now have 19 different papers that you can look at. Some of those are analytical papers. Some of it is various kinds of research studies that have been done on the material. So all of that's available there. And then we also have videos. We did a symposium a couple of years ago. So we had a lot of interesting speakers, people from UC Davis that I mentioned who have done a lot of this work for us, like Dr. Daniela Barilla and Dr. Selena Wang. So you can see all that on our website at wellvine.com.
Wonderful. Peter, we're going to go for our next commercial with Joe Bradley and the Step Change Innovation team. But Scott, thank you so much. I wish you a great-tastic rest of the day. And thank you once again for coming on and being our natural product leader for this interview. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Stephen. It's my pleasure.
Perfect. So I know that Scott's got to go. Stephen, you have to go. I'm going to run the commercial break for Step Change. And if you guys are, or Stephen, if you're still there, great. Otherwise, I'll wrap up the show. Here we go.
Here's a word from our sponsor, Step Change Innovations. Selling science-backed ingredients is tough. No one understands that better than industry veteran Joe Bradley. For over 20 years, Joe has blazed trails in selling science-backed ingredients into emerging markets. He's seen the challenges firsthand, the long sales cycles, the regulatory maze, and the struggle to turn groundbreaking science into retail success. That's why he dedicated his career to overcoming these hurdles. At Step Change Innovations, we're on a mission to make that journey easier for you. Whether you need expert regulatory guidance, a launch strategy that transforms your ingredient into a premium consumer product, or an outsourced sales program that fills your pipeline with quality leads, we've got you covered. Imagine your innovative ingredient not just as an idea, but as a proven, market-ready product, displayed on shelves, building trust with every customer, and driving real sales. With our deep industry expertise and a robust network of suppliers, retailers, and co-manufacturers, we turn challenges into opportunities and accelerate your path to market. If selling your science-backed ingredient feels like an uphill battle, let's change that. Schedule a conversation with Joe Bradley to talk through your sales challenges and brainstorm ways to overcome them. Whether it's refining your strategy, securing retail placement, or building a sales pipeline that actually delivers, we're here to help. Visit stepchangego.com to connect today and take the first step toward getting your ingredient on shelves faster and easier. At KISC My Health Radio, we say thank you to Step Change Innovations for being the sponsor of this podcast. Now back to our show. Take it away, Peter.
And we are back. Peter Mingils here by myself now. Stephen Lukawski just had to go on another appointment, and I want to say thanks to Scott Forsberg, Forsberg. The company he's working with is WellVine, WellVine. You can go to wellvine.com and see a little bit more about that. And take a look at the show notes. We're going to put a whole bunch of show notes here. We're going to make sure that we have Scott come back, tell us a little bit more about himself personally, as this is a fascinating conversation. He's got a really great history in this industry, talking about the beginning parts of the Shea. Want to hear more about that? The stuff with the things that he's done with his 41 patents, I think he said, in cranberries. So I want to find more about that in his personal life as well. But we're going to catch everybody next time. Go to KISCMyHealth.com, KISC myhealth.com, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
You've been listening to the KISC My Health Radio show on Building Fortunes Radio. Thanks for listening. This KISC My Health Radio show is brought to you by Stephen Lukawski. Stephen is known as the Cranberry King, universally known as Captain Cranman. Stephen has over 30 years of experience working with manufacturers and marketers of dietary supplements and natural ingredients to make this world a healthier and a better place. You can check out Stephen Lukawski on LinkedIn and on the KISCMyHealth.com website. We are glad you listened in. Spread the word. And check out previous KISC My Health Radio episodes. Bye for now. It's been our privilege to have you listen in. At Building Fortunes Radio, we wish you the success you deserve and are willing to work for. Now go make the world a better place.